Today we're going to be talking about collective consciousness. How do we create it as a collective? Now, it's a broad topic. That means it can go any which way. What's on your mind? Give us some insight.
Okay. What I want to also get to, because you said something, a lot of people, whenever they learn something, and your DNA is a funny thing. Like, I could learn to play a piano, and no one in my family before me learned to play the piano. Eventually, that starts getting passed down through the DNA, and the next of kin that comes after has those traits. That's why you see someone like LeBron playing basketball, and you don't hear about nobody in his family before, and now you see his son playing basketball, then the next one and the next one, because he learned that trait or whatever, or that skill. It's crazy how that happens. Not even just that, it made me think about how we think as a collective, right? Because everything comes from inside, from within comes without. Now, back when I was in 7th grade, I lived in a place called Yuma, Arizona. Small little town on the border of California and New Mexico, right? My 7th grade history class, all the teacher taught, it's like the whole school was so focused on slavery. And when I say, I was like, it wasn't that many Black people in the class with me. So whenever I was in 7th grade, the history class, and the crazy thing is, I don't even know, because while you're living it, you may be having to focus on this, but I promise you, from what I remember, all we studied was slavery, and all we watched was the movie Roots. I didn't even know there was so many parts of Roots. And when I'm saying this the whole year. And then on the Christmas special, they even had a slavery Christmas special. I didn't even know that. And then there was like another slave or a movie against Black people. That's what I watched the whole year, the whole entire year. And then during Black History, I remember who I thought was my favorite teacher had like a slave and master, just to show the kids how it felt to be a slave.
What?
And yeah, and they sent home letters to say, you could ask my mom. They sent home letters to see if the child could participate. I'm in 7th grade. I'm just like, shit, I want to be the master. I want to have somebody do my stuff for the day, but I'm not realizing how deep this really is at the time. On top of that, that same teacher, I remember, I was a middle school girl. I'm in there laughing and stuff with my friends, and she comes over there and we're laughing and we stop laughing. She's like, "What's so funny?" And nobody says anything, right? And remember, this is my favorite teacher. She was like, what are y'all laughing at, trying to see if Black people are really there? Like some off the wall type stuff. But I'm going to bring it back. This is what I'm saying. Currently in Florida, they're trying not to teach about, I'm going to just say slavery because there's a lot that goes with it. So currently they're trying to take slavery out the books, right? And it's been the same thing presented in Texas, right? So my thing is, as young Black women and men collectively, we know, and it's been studied, that what's presented in front of us has a lot to do with shaping our character, right? So when Black Panther came out, that was a big thing, right? Because everybody forgot about Blade for some reason, but but it gave Black kids a superhero. Even though I don't agree with everything in there, because Killmonger to me was my superhero, because Killmonger stood for something. He wanted to go back to his roots to help his people in America, which it didn't make no sense because they didn't want to help, but you realize they gave vibranium to the man in the CIA that was causing the people that look like Killmonger to be put back. You got to really have your eye open to pay attention and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that finally gave the little Black boys the superhero, because up until then, most superheroes did not look like them. So they had them idolizing people that did not look like them. And this is as a collective, right? So now you have Black Panther, and Black Panther kicks ass, okay? So my thing is, whenever we go into the history books, during during Black History, one of the first things they teach us as a collective of people that look like us, and it's not just affecting us, it's affecting other people, you know, and how they look at us is about slavery. They put everything that started with slavery. They try to make it as if, because they make sure when they show Africa, and they say that we come from Africa, and we know a large majority of us actually were
in America
from this land, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But they make sure that they tell you that you're from Africa. Hey, Myra. They make sure that they tell you from Africa. And what do they show you on TV? They show you huts and they show you tribes. They show you people out in the wilderness, which is nothing wrong with that. But they try to make it look as if they took you from something and brought you to something better to take away the fact that you were in shackles and being beat and being ate by dogs and babies being fed to animals, you know? So my thing is, and this is what I'm saying, manifesting as a collective, look at the state of being of where people that look like you and me are. And then look at the state of being where people who own those people are. This is manifesting into our now day and age, because we've been taught since we can talk, or since we started school at 5, that this is how it's supposed to be, and this is where it came from. And that gives an order of authority. So collectively, when Kimmis, are you frozen?
Am I?
Yes, you're definitely frozen. Man, so collectively,
this Facebook thing,
when you got pictures of your savior not looking like you, but also looking like the person that had you in shackles, and then you have pictures of Santa Claus that don't look like you, it's always the savior is always different from you, and then you have the person that helps you different from you, and then you have you lost and confused. And this has been manifested in this day and age. And you got people still hurting and feeling like they are in shackles because it's pushed. Even though this is something from history, it's continuously pushed. So what I'm saying is, collectively, we're manifesting what we are in right now.
When you look at movies or whatnot, you never see a black king. You never see a black king or whatnot. You can look at the Black Panther movie, but outside of that, you never see a black king. The only thing that they show black people doing is killing each other. They show the brother killing his brother. They show a dysfunctional family. They show drug dealers, but they don't never show the black person in a position of prominence. They never show a black person in the position of prestige or whatnot. And even when it comes all the way to the educational system, right? We talk about how we manifest collectively, right? But keep in mind, there's a movie called 12 Years a Slave, right? And what did you say? As soon as you go to school, they're teaching you about slavery. How many years in school do you have?
Let's see, 15, 18, 13 years. 13 years. You got
12 years. It's grade 1 through 12 or whatnot. You are being programmed and conditioned to think a certain way. And that's affecting your overall viewpoint of yourself. And like you said, we got to get to the point where we realize who we are. If these individuals are telling us who we are, we're never going to rise up to the position of prominence that we belong. We have to tell ourselves who we are. We have to tell our kids who they are. But you know what I'm saying?
You realize too, it's not just telling who we are, but it's telling other people that we're less than.
You know what I'm saying?
If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even be here, so we should be grateful.
But even if you trace our history, it's kings and queens and gods and goddesses. That's in our history. From building pyramids, whether it's in ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet, even to over here in the Americas, in the Grand Canyons where they got land sealed off where you can't step a foot in. Those were built by our hands. Even America was built by us. So we need to understand who we are collectively. You're not a slave. You've never been a slave. The only way you become a slave is if you accept that reality. Why would I accept a reality calling me something lesser than when I realize that he that lives inside of me is great? There's no way I'm going to answer to that. Our kids need to understand who they are. You know, when we get this collective mind, it begins to change the frequency It began to change the way that we view ourselves. It began to change the way that we carry ourselves. That's why you have to be careful what you consistently consume. And you said this, sister. We consistently consuming things that are not good for us, right? If you put things in your body that are adverse to your body, if you put things in your spirit that are adverse to your spirit, you begin to operate in an unnatural state because it's not natural. You have to understand that you've always been a prominent, you've always been a prestige, you've always been a royalty. You have to understand that. They know it. They know it. They know who you are. That's why they say the only way we can get them, we got to program them to think this way. We may not can get their body anymore, but we got to get their mind because the mind controls the body. But when you take your mind back, then you begin to rise as a collective. And like I said at the beginning, there's nothing collectively that we can't do. No matter what they say, no matter what they throw our way, no matter what we face, when we rise up collectively, there's nothing that they can do to stop us. What they're going to put on the news, they're going to put on the news a cop killing another black boy, which is going to send fear and trepidation through us. Now we're walking and we're on the front line just because of our skin color, right? But when we rise up collectively, when we rise up in unity and solidarity, there's no fear over here. We got to get to the point, man, where we take back what belongs to us. And when I say take back what belongs to us, take your identity back. Rise up collectively. Understand who you are. Understand that you've been programmed since you were a child to think of something, to think of yourself as something lesser than you are. But you've always been great. You've always been royalty. You've always been auspicious. You've always been unique. You've always stood out. You've always been the highlighter on the black and white page. You've always been those things. So stop accepting the collective thought of you being a slave. Stop accepting the collective thought of you being something lesser and realize that you are great. You are all of those things and more.